Hey, people, thanks for joining me again. We're in the book of James right now. We began a series yesterday talking about some of the very practical aspects of our Christian life. James, the brother of Jesus, is talking about trials, and he uses the word when. He says, when you fall into these trials. He doesn't say if you fall into the trials. He says, when you fall. Let me read this again to you. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. It's a great passage. It talks about the when. But you notice that these trials are not things that are planned. They're not things that are you sort of prepare for them. You fall into them. You fall into them. It's kind of like you're walking along the road of life and suddenly, everything just changes. You're walking at first, it seems fine. And then all of a sudden, man, you hit something, you trip on something, and you stumble and you fall. Now, that's what he's talking about. It comes as by way of a surprise to you. So when we think of stumbling and falling upon these trials, they're not planned, they're not prepared for you by yourself. They're generally prepared by God. There are so many surprises that happen in life, not so? No schedule for them, no plan for them. They just arrive. And you find yourself kicking yourself into a stumbling position, and you know that you're on your way down. Well, these problems that come upon us, these trials that we are confronted with, are useful in the word diverse, in many of them. There's as many of them as there are days in the month. So many are the trials of life. And he talks about the diversity of these trials. They range from things that are financial. I made a little list here. They made a list of things that might be physical by way of healing or sickness. They may be relational in issues between you and your loved ones or whatever. They may be vocational, maybe in light of your job or the insecurity of the world in which you live. There are just so many different trials that you can fall into. Now, these are all multicolored. Now, when I think of multicolored, I think of Joseph in the book of Genesis. He had a multicolored jacket that his dad had given to him. So diverse were the colors, as too are so diverse the challenges of life. But with every challenge of life and the diversity of Joseph's life, there was a grace and a patience and a possibility of wisdom that came to him. It didn't matter in Joseph's life whether he was wearing the coat of many colors or not. The colors of his life pictures so much of the diversity of the trials he went through. But with every single one of the trials of this good man, there was grace for him. Every single one of them, he weathered the storm of, whether it be a slave, whether it be a steward, whether it be a prisoner in a prison, whether it be the prime minister. Every area of life has its trials. And Joseph found a way of mastering every single one, no matter the color. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could be a little bit more like that? If we could weather the storms and the trials of life that come upon us, whatever the shape or the color. Now remember that these things come upon us when they're sent by God as trials. They come just as a test. The trial is a test. And the test is, are you going to continue to trust God? Because there are other tests that you could possibly fail at this point, worse than the stumble or the fall. You could begin to talk about God as being not there. You could be talking about God as one who has abandoned you. You could talk about God as being one who has failed you. And we come up with all these different pictures of who God is as a result of the state of our own lives. It's not fair to blame God for some of those things. You see, my thesis is that most of the storms of our lives, most of the trials and the tests that we go through are our made. We made them. God didn't make them. But when God does make them, he knows full well that he will support you. He'll give you the wisdom that you need to weather the storms of the trials that he has taken you through. If you make your own blunders and go in your own direction, making your own choices, doing the stuff that you think that you should be doing, knowing full well that it's not stuff that God would want for you to do, then suck it up, people. You're the ones who have to pay the price for that. God's grace can go and extend even to those. That's wonderful that he does that for us. But the trials we're talking about here, God has purposed for a reason. He talks about patience, and patience leading to perfection, to be perfect. It's all the process of becoming perfect. And patience is the way that God makes perfection. When we look at ourselves through our own eyes, I don't know about you, I don't look pretty perfect. But I do know that in God's hands, with God's trials and with God's patience and me persevering through the storm, there will be perfection at the end of the day. When you enter heaven one day, God's going to say, man, you've got a whole lot of scars. You've got a whole lot of challenges, but they're just scars. They'll tell a great story. They're just trials, people. Make sure, therefore, that you pass the test. Otherwise, you know what happens? Like back at school, you rewrite the test until you do pass. Think about that today. See you soon. Bye.